Hello, this is Photography Gamer. Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'll be looking at the photo mode in Grounded, which is an early access survival game on the Xbox Series X and S. I'll be breaking down the photo mode functions. Following this, I'll focus on this episode's special topic, how to create an epic sense of scale, where I'll break down how you can use the environment, enemies, and other features to add an epic feel to your shots. Finally, I'll conclude the episode with a couple of questions I've received from the virtual photography community. Okay, Grounded photo mode. Well, they've only just added it about under a week ago, and they did state that this was the first update for photo mode, so I imagine there's going to be a lot more in future, but for now I'm going to go through the basic functions, the main functions, what's available. There's not a lot, but let's go and have a look at them. Okay, basic functions. To enter the photo mode, click down on the D-pad. On the hotkey wheel that pops up, go to the left side option, which is the camera icon, and then click on that and you'll find yourself in the photo mode. Now, first thing you can do is click the left bumper button. That switches between orbit and free cam. So the difference between orbit and free cam is free cam allows you to move the camera as far away as you see fit. You know, it doesn't lock you to the character. Orbit locks you to the character. So when you move the two joysticks, one will rotate around the subject, one will draw the distance away from them, like a zoom out or zoom in. Then we have craning. You use the left trigger and right trigger to do this. So craning is like lifting the camera up or lowering it. The higher you move it, that's good for landscapes, panoramas, creating a sense of scale. The lower the camera goes, that's good for creating a sense of like a scale and increase the scale of your character's perspective. You know, if you shoot from the ground up, it's going to look bigger. If you press the X button, that will toggle the HUD on or off. So when you want to take your photo, you can turn the HUD off, or if you just want a clean look at your shot. The right bumper button takes the photo. If you press right on the D-pad, that will look at your photo archive. So if you've taken a bunch of shots, you can see them in there. If you press Y, that will enter photo settings, which we'll go into in a moment. And if you press the B button, that will go back, basically exiting the photo mode. Okay, so we're going to look at photo settings. This is like the main part of editing your photo. So within this, if you press the A button to enter one of the values, you can then use the joysticks to slide up and down to change the value. Okay, so section 1 is teen options. First option is hide teen. This basically is hide your character. You can put that on or off. Some shots you don't want your character in there, so it's nice to have the option to remove them completely if you just want to do a landscape. Then we have poses. There are 8 options. They're basically like emojis, like moving emojis. So a few nice selections there. Then we have scrub pose line. Bizarre wording for which basically means changing the timing of your pose. So it's kind of like time adjust of an emoji. But they called it scrub pose line. Don't know why. Anyway. That's a good feature because the emojis obviously are video really. When you do an emoji, it's a motion thing. So using a slider to change your position gives you a lot more freedom in terms of using the emoji. So you've only got 8 emojis, but you've got a lot of different timeline settings for it. So it adds more variety. Section 2 is camera options. First we have field of view, FOV. So this is really like, it's kind of like a zoom without using the joysticks. That's the way I would explain it. Now I use it usually once I've composed and framed my shot. Sometimes I want to go in or go out, like zoom in or zoom out a bit. I don't want to use the joysticks because they're a bit temperamental. Field of view is a more precise way of changing the zoom once you're kind of happy with where the shot is. Then we have aperture. Aperture is measured in f-stops, and here it goes from f-stop 1.2 to f-stop 22. What's the difference between them? Well, the higher the f-stop number, the more of the image will be in focus. So if you did a shot with f22, everything you can see right up to the horizon will be in focus. If you shot it f1.2, a very narrow, shallow space would be in focus, like a plant, and everything else in the shot would be blurred out. Then we have focus distance. So this is really your origin point of the focus. So you decide where the focus begins. and you use focus distance with aperture in conjunction. You choose where the focus originates, i.e. your character, then you adjust the aperture to decide how much other than your character is going to be in focus. Then we have camera tilt. This is basically rotating the camera. Rotation is good for creating kind of surreal, twisted imagery, putting it a bit off kilter. It's good for action, it's good for movement, it's good for dynamism, it's good for lots of different things. I don't use it that much, but you can try it and see, it creates a sort of a disorientated feel, so it's kind of nice. Maybe used with chromatic aberration during an action scene. Section 3 is effects. First we have vignette. Vignettes are a shadowy border around the edge of the image, and the more intense it is, the stronger the border. The idea of a vignette is to focus your attention on the center of the shot and kind of darken the borders so you don't look at them. It's trying to draw your eye into the middle. Then we have filter. Now, there's not many options. You've only got a very small handful. There's a couple I like, but yeah, I'm sure in time they're going to add a few more, but there's a couple to play with. Then you have filter blend. Now, that's basically the intensity of your filter. So like, for example, let's say you put the black and white filter on, but you don't want a black and white shot. You just want to desaturate the image a little bit. Put the black and white filter on and then just drop the intensity from the maximum, maybe down to half. So it won't be a black and white image, it will be a sort of half desaturated image. Play around with all the different filters and blend them. You can get lots of different effects. Next we have film grain. This adds a kind of a texture to the image like old film. Now I use this in dark situations or situations where I want to add a bit of texture, a bit of depth, because sometimes you need to define things a little bit more. So that's where I would use it. Then we have chromatic aberration. This is like, I would compare it to sort of how 3D looks without 3D glasses. It kind of is like a double vision distortion, weird sort of effect. It's good if you want to create that sense in the image, something disorientating or scary. And finally, if you use the left joystick and click it in, that will return to the factory defaults. Now that will just reset your image completely, so you just go back to the beginning. Okay, so that is the photo mode in Grounded. Overall, I'd say it's functional. It doesn't have lots of features, but it's a good starting point. The best things, I like the freeze frame emojis, like the poses and the way you can move them. That gives you a lot of variety. Another great feature is the excellent distance. You can remove the camera away from your subject. It's very, very good. Like, you can really go very far away. That gives you a lot of scope for interesting panoramic shots. The bad points are there's no color grading, there's no saturation or vibrancy options, there's no exposure or brightness sliders, and you can't change the time of day. And I think all of those things really are essential and need to be added. But overall, I'd say it's a functional first attempt at the photo mode, but they do need stickers, borders, lots of things. I mean, there's loads they could add, but it's just the first point of entry. So scoring, I'd give it 7 out of 10 at the moment. It's very primitive, very basic, but it's good enough to take pictures, so I'd say it's not too bad. Okay, now it's time for the episode's special topic, how to create an epic sense of scale. So what do I mean by that? Well, with open world games like Grounded, you have a lot of space to play with. But how can you use that space to create an epic sense of scale to the shot? One method is shooting from an elevated position, like on a hill or a mountain. What this does is it isolates your character, silhouetting them in the clear sky above all of the chaos on the ground. To do that, you need to have the camera slightly lower than where your character stands. Shooting from a high location means you can see far into the distance, which means you can create an epic panoramic feel to the shot. Then it's really just about positioning the camera to make sure your character is clearly visible, as is the vast environment in the distance. Shooting low to high is also a good way of creating scale, as the lower the camera, the larger things in the shot will appear. Like if you took a photo of a person from ground level up, they look like a giant, as if it's the view from, say, an ant's perspective. Shoot from above them and they seem small, as it seems like you're shooting from a larger person's viewpoint. Another way is panning the camera far away from your subject, which is a great feature here in Grounded. The only issue with that is making sure your character doesn't get lost in the environment detail, so it's good to choose a clean palette for this. Like a simple environment, mud, sky, water, because if you stand in front of a busy situation like long grass, you might not even notice your character. So just play around with how you position the camera, whether it be low or high, and also the distance to which you can pull away from the subject. As I said, Grounded is great for that, but also Mad Max, if you've never played that really allows you to do some incredible wide shots due to the camera freedom, and it's got a really nice director film mode, so that's one I'll probably do at another date. Okay, so we are nearly done, just a few questions from the community. Question 1, Grounded doesn't have any brightness sliders, so my images look quite dark, help. Well, because there's no brightness or exposure sliders, you're limited. So if you take a shot at night, you need a torch, you need some external light source, that's one. But even if you're shooting in the day, think about where your character is. Don't face away from the sun because your face won't have any light on it. Look at the sun or be half facing the sun. Then you'll get good light on your face. So you really have to play around with where the sun is at that time because you can't change the time of day. Second question, what's the best place to put the camera? Well, there isn't really an answer to that question that's definitive because it depends on the shot, it depends on what you're trying to create. Where you put the camera is really the decision that you have to make because a photograph is your viewpoint. It's you taking a picture of what you see, but also how you see it and how it feels to you. So where you put that camera, how you frame it, will dictate how it feels. So what's the best place to put the camera? Wherever you want to put it, as long as it accurately kind of captures the essence of what you want to convey in your shot. Okay, we are done for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it informative. I'll probably do another video on Grounded when they finish the photo mode because it is quite primitive at the moment, but it's still not a bad little mode. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments or tweet me. If you've got any related virtual photography issues, drop me a line, add some questions I can do in the next episode. Hope you found it useful. You can now join the channel if you want to unlock members only videos, early access and many other benefits. If you go to the homepage, there's a button there, you can click on that. But for now, this is Photography Gamer signing off. Have a great week, enjoy, take some good pictures, and I will see you next time. Cheers.